Welcome back to another of our top fives, where we chew the fat over all things real estate and give you a top five list. With me, I have Rebecca Want from Marbella Interiors, who are kindly sponsoring this top five program. And today we're talking about the top five things that buyers don't budget for. Well, this catches out more buyers than
it's an expensive process.
Yeah.
And it's something I come along because I'm obviously at the end of the buying process with the furniture and things, so it's something I really notice.
Well, what's on our top
So
five? Are we doing it in reverse order?
Yes.
Okay, so what's number five?
What's number five? So, mine.
Yours, isn't it?
It's the furniture.
Furniture.
I often get people coming, and upgrades, yeah, people underestimate how much they're going to have to spend for as much as that's where we come in, is we do it at the best price possible. But people do underestimate how much they need to spend, because normally when we do a house, we've got our home, you maybe upgrade your sofa, but you're doing everything, especially if you're buying a new build property, and that adds up.
I'm always amazed by people who are buying, I don't know, €1 million villas or apartments, and you go to them with a budget. You go to them with a scheme, and you say, how much is your budget?
12,000.
And you're like, okay, because the average is, I think, between 5 and 10%. Is that about right of the
That's
property
kind of
value?
yeah. I mean, the thing is, because the property value, we always used to say 10%, but property values have gone up so much. Yeah. You don't need to spend, 5% is fine. But no, I did have a client recently, and he paid 1.5 million for a 3-bedroom apartment, and he had 12,000 euros left to spend on furniture.
Was it 12,000 euros left, or he just didn't want to spend more?
I think he probably didn't want to spend more because he spent so much. But then the problem is he had very high-end designer style. And actually, the sofa he wanted costed 10.
Do you get that a lot? Do you get people who've... Because in England we say, is it champagne taste and beer money?
Yes.
So they want the best, but they want to pay like 20% of
But
the
I think
price.
also, because I'm quite a practical person, and I get that, and I don't believe you should have to spend 150,000. Yeah, I'm a bit tight, a bit northern. And I don't think you should have to spend 150,000 on your property to make it look very nice. No. I think you can spend 20, 25, and it's a case of where do you spend the money? You get a decent sofa, you have decent mattresses, you do your master bedroom really lovely, but you don't buy expensive lamps in the 3rd bedroom, and things like that. And it's a case of budgeting sensibly, and it can be done. What's
the best time for someone to get someone like you involved? Should they approach you before they've reserved, or? Because I guess it's all part of the global cost of buying a property, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I do have clients sometimes call me, that maybe they're buying a resale villa or something like that, and they want some, can we make the changes we want? We want new kitchens and bathrooms. Can we upgrade this to the level we want? And I've done property visits with people, with agents for that. But then ordinarily, it would be more of a case of 3-4 months before completion, especially if it's a new build, because we keep our prices down by ordering directly from manufacturers. So we don't hold stock, so we do need lead time. But that gives us then some time to work on exactly the look and the final budget and order things in.
It's very important.
It is important. It's important to get it right.
Yeah, it is.
Because it's such a shame. You don't want to end up with cheap, nasty look furniture, especially if you want to rent something or just feel special.
Yeah. What's number 4?
Don't know. Get a bit of paper.
Get the specs on.
Get the specs on. Community fees.
Oh, community fees.
I learned recently there's a huge variation in community fees.
Yeah, there is. It's something that a lot of, the buyers that we represent, it's normally part of their fact find, and it's something that we generally offer as part of the explanation of a property. And, we'll always incorporate it into the detail. But I'm always surprised how many buyers don't ask the question or forget the answer.
And what affects the value? What kind of...
Well, normally it's things like 24-hour security. That's the big one. Any community that has 24-hour security, if you think about it, the members of the community are paying 3 people's salaries.
Of course, yeah.
So that's going to be expensive, particularly if there's only 20 of you. If there's 200 of you, it gets diluted a little bit more. And if there's 2,000 of you on a development with 24-hour security, then it's diluted even further.
Yeah.
But you've got to work it out. And very often, as part of your due diligence, you should be looking at the community fees and make sure it's a proper figure, not just made up by the agent. So make sure the lawyer checks it out as well. And we, as agents, will always help a client kind of decipher the community fees. So if I see someone buying a 2-bedroom apartment for 300,000 euros and their community fees are 500 euros a month, I will go, ooh, that looks a bit toppy. Let's have a look at this and see what's going on. And it might be that they've got 24-hour security.
Or 3 swimming pools or something like that.
Or it might be that there's a load of debt that the owners are having to repay, in which case, okay, hang on a minute, who's responsible for that? Should it be the vendor? So you've got to look into it and just make sure that you're not making a mistake and that what you're buying into you know about. Okay.
Okay.
Number 3.
Legal and notary costs?
Yeah, yeah. Again, all these things should be part of your due diligence
So
before
what
you
kind
buy
of a
property.
percentage would that be?
So the legal fees, there's a standard rate of 1% plus IVA, which is like a VAT. With a bit of haggling, sometimes you can get that.
So it's not a
down.
set fee, it's a percentage of the value.
No, and that again, if you're buying a 10 million euro villa,
That's a
hang
lot.
on, why should I be paying 1% when someone's paying 1% on a 300,000 euro property? So
Yeah.
normally lawyers will have a sliding scale. So once it gets above a certain level, then the percentage fee comes down. But look, it depends really on the complexity of the job. That is a standard rate. But if yours is really simple and easy and it's a lower value property, then negotiate a fee.
Just a flat fee.
Yeah, the flat fee. The notary costs and land registry fees, for instance, we can't give a defined figure on those because it depends on the municipality where you're buying, depends on the notary, how many pages are in your title deeds, the time of the
so it's
day,
quite
all
detailed.
sorts of things. Yeah, but normally your lawyer will be able to give you an estimate of those fees. Number 2.
Number 2, so taxes.
Taxes. Taxes are an important one, and again, I think a lot of agents consider it a bit of a dirty word.
So you pay tax when you buy, not just when you sell.
Yeah, exactly. So you pay purchase taxes. So in Spain, if you're buying a resale property, you'll pay what's called transfer tax.
Oh, okay.
So normally your costs will be transfer tax, which in Andalusia is 7% across the board. You'll also pay your legal fees, your notary fees, land registry fees, and that normally equates to around 9.5% to 10% of the purchase price, all those fees. If you're buying a new build, it's different. It's not transfer tax, it's IVA, which is like VAT, and that's paid at 10% on new build properties. And you also pay stamp duty of 1.2% on top of that. So normally for a new build, you're probably paying about 13%. So it's normally about 3% more, 3 or 4% more than you would pay for a resale property. But again, we always explain that to buyers so that they know exactly, it's transparent, they know exactly what they're going to be paying. But a lot of agents don't. And I don't know if it's because they don't know or they just worry about, oh, we're going to give you some bad news.
Yeah, so really if somebody comes over and says, I have a budget of 500,000,
yeah,
really 20% of that needs to cover your costs.
I don't know if it's 20%. I think certainly 13, 14% if it's even less than that if it's a resale property, 10, 11.
So 10% and
yeah,
so
that would cover your...
Because it would be a shame for somebody to find a property that they think's in their budget and all of a sudden they realise
it's not.
Actually, it's not.
Yeah. So yeah, I would say, but depending on whether it's resale or new, between 10 and 14% of the purchase price needs to be kept aside for purchase costs. That will be your, as I say, your transfer tax or IVA, your legal costs, your land registry fees, and your notary fees.
And then you've got your furniture.
And then you've got your furniture on top of that. So if that is a 5%, then yeah, it starts taking it up.
Yeah.
But it depends if the flat is or the property is sold furnished. So
your biggest issue?
What's number 1? Ongoing ownership costs.
Yeah.
It's true, isn't it? You think, oh, I'm buying in Spain, everything must be free, or I've got no taxes to pay, and it's not quite true, is it? So you've got your community fees, as we've discussed. You've got your IBI and your basura. IBI is like council tax.
But it is a lot lower than the UK, isn't it?
It is, and it goes against the catastrophe value of your property, not the market value, and that's set by the town halls. Nothing you can do about that. And then the basura, which is rubbish collection, depends on the municipality. So I'm in Benavis, I pay €18 a year, which is crazy. In Marbella, you pay a bit more. And then you've got your utility bills. So you've got things like home insurance, alarm company, electricity. We don't really have gas, do we?
Not really.
Water bills. And then if you're a non-resident, you pay a non-resident tax. So there are costs to bear in mind that you've got to pay throughout the year. Don't just think everything's free just because you bought a beautiful holiday home in the sunshine.
And I guess just general property maintenance.
Yeah, exactly. So there are ongoing fees, and that's sometimes, again, because the buyer hasn't been told. And I wrote down, always budget for ownership, not just acquisition. And it's very true because a lot of people will go, it's like buying I always remember, a friend of mine, Martin, we bought this house in Montemayor, far too big for us, but it was a good opportunity. We bought it, and then we started moaning about the bills. And I remember my friend Martin said to me, if you can't afford the bills, you shouldn't have bought the house.
My dad always used to say that if you can't afford the insurance, you can't afford the car.
Yeah, similar thing.
So if you can't afford fully comprehensive insurance,
on your Ferrari, then don't buy the Ferrari. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
So that's our top 5. So
thank you very much.
on to the next one.